the Commanders are in big trouble. Hello and welcome to my podcast. Do me a favor, subscribe to the Keim Report wherever you get your podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. You can find us there as part of Ampire Media, Ampire. Always much appreciated when you tune in. Don't forget, you can read my work on ESPN.com. Also, I'll have a game review posted on Tuesday morning. Not sure about the live stream for Tuesday night. Right now, I'm saying it's pretty iffy. But I will have a guest on that will play Wednesday if I don't do the live stream. So pay attention to that on social media, on Twitter, Instagram, whatever. And then also on the game review, I'll mention whether or not I'm going to have it for sure. So tough week for it, but it's a tough week for the Commanders as well. So just a brutal loss here today, 34-26 to the Cowboys. I don't have to tell you how bad this one is, folks. This is really bad. You can excuse the losses to Pittsburgh and Philadelphia to a degree because those are really good teams. Today, you're back home. You have all this stuff. You're in front of your home crowd. You played well here. You've beaten these kind of teams all year and beaten them pretty bad when you've played them. And then you lay a massive, massive egg. And you do it. You had the practice time. Everything was back for you. The line, you had a couple extra days of rest. And they came out and had a really bad performance, especially on offense. And listen, while the defense did a better job, you're not exactly playing against a top-notch quarterback in Cooper Rush, and you're not exactly playing against a team that is full strength along the offensive line, a team that had a bad running game all year, and yet the Cowboys controlled the ball for over 34 minutes today, folks. Just inexcusable for Washington to have a game like this. Now they've lost 3 in a row. And listen, and it doesn't, at one point you thought it's going to get better after that little stretch that they had. And maybe did that stretch take a lot out of them? Did it completely stunt their momentum? I don't know. But what I do know is now you lost to Dallas. Now you're facing a Tennessee team at home that is coming off a really good win against Houston. So they are feeling much better. And now you're playing a wounded team in the Commanders. We get into a lot of stuff, but let's get to some injury updates because I think this is going to determine where this season could go. And you have Austin Eckler, who was taken to a hospital after the game it was out of an abundance of caution. That's what we were told by a team spokesperson. But he had the concussion. He did not clearly, you saw the game didn't look good coming off the field. You never know how those things go, but we all know that it would be very difficult to see him playing this week. You also have Andrew Wiley, who under the concussion protocol. That would be a loss as well. You have Brian Robinson, who injured his right ankle, did not play in the second half of the game. That's a bad sign. Robinson's been banged up. And the biggest culprit to me in this whole situation has been the run game. They have not run the ball well. And I think that's led to a lot of issues on both sides of the ball. They're not controlling the ball, and they're not setting the pass game up in better positions. But I also think there's a lot of other things going on with the run game that I want to get into later. But one thing you noticed early in the year, they were able to fool teams sometimes with the runs, get a lot of eye candy in there. That stuff isn't working lately. And then you have a lot of runs up the middle with Eckler. That's not what he's designed to do. Now you can get 3 yards, but the 3 yards isn't, you're always behind. You're always kind of leaving them in longer third down situations, et cetera. So that to me has been a big, big culprit. And again, it's one thing to lose to Pittsburgh. Good game, tough physical game. To lose at Philadelphia, you have a chance to go take the lead late in the game, in the middle of the fourth quarter, and you didn't do it. But you can feel like, hey, you competed, et cetera. It's another thing to lose to a wounded 3-7 team at home, coming off some bad losses and just going nowhere with all the talk surrounding their coaches, the future of the organization, et cetera. This was really, really bad. And this feels like something that happened in the past. This is the kind of game that we've seen this organization, this team play in the past. Now, this is not the same situation as in the past, but we are familiar with these kind of games where you feel like they should win and then they don't come out. They come out and they don't take care of business. And I also wonder what this means. Is it the roster catching up to them? Is this kind of what we thought might happen this year? And I'm not going to sit there and make excuses for this, but now you wonder, is some of that stuff starting to catch up to them? And as teams catch up to what they're doing, do they have things in place to adjust to then make it work still? So I think those are all very fair questions that everybody has to ask because you just don't know. And again, the lack of a run game to me is a big, big culprit in all of this. They're averaging, I think it's like the last 3 games, 3.2 yards per carry. Terrible. You can't, it's going to be hard to win that way, especially unless you're not running the ball much at all in terms of trying to run it because you have this superior passing game. Well, that's not what they have right now, folks. They don't have a superior passing game. Jaden Daniels has been struggling. The passing game itself has been struggling. There's been a little bit more pressure lately, and then you're not getting the same level of separation from the receivers. And so it's adding up, and you start to see like, okay, you don't have this explosiveness over here. You have Terry McLaurin, Noah Brown's done a nice job, but do they have that strong number 2? Luke McCaffrey only has 17 targets this year. Like, he's a 3rd-round pick, folks. You needed some more production from somebody else other than those guys, consistent production, and they're just not getting it right now. And then if Eckler and Robinson have to miss, man, does it not look good. Now, I will say, if there are teams where you say, like, when do you really find out about a team? It's now. And so, you talk to guys in the locker room, Zach Ertz talking about, I still have belief in this team. I still have belief in this quarterback. Bobby Wagner saying the same thing. Like he said, the one thing that they got to tell the young guys is you have guys like him and Zach Ertz who have the scars, who have been in crazier situations or worse situations than what they're in now and have emerged from it. So you've got to stay focused and consistent on that. But when you start getting banged up, now you're going to have to get Jeremy McNichols, Chris Rodriguez, whom they cut on Saturday. But when they cut him, it was just to make room for Javonte Jean-Baptiste coming back off of IR. But you can re-sign Rodriguez now you're going to have to re-sign probably to the roster, or at least if nothing else, the practice squad, but I would imagine to the roster. But we'll see what happens there. But they need him back because now you're all banged up. So it's a tough situation, it's not one that you can't overcome. And listen, if we think Jaden Daniels is that, then he can certainly make some more plays down the stretch. But I think you're going to need some other playmakers. You saw Terry McLaurin at the end of the game. That's a playmaker. But you need others to step up and do things, and you cannot suffer the details in games like this. Missing tackles. There are too many missed tackles, including on the 99-yard kickoff return. I'll get to that in a minute as well. So, but right now I'm looking big picture because I think big picture, like, you have to wonder, couple weeks ago, you thought, hey, this team's going to be playing a playoff game. Now we don't know where it's going to go. No clue. Now, the NFC is not very good. So how many more wins is it going to take? And you do have some more games at home. You do have another game left against Dallas, and who knows where they'll be in that season finale. But this team has to be in a better spot too. This team has to regain some of that, not only about swag, but some of that momentum, some of that good feeling. And they haven't had, it's been now 3 weeks. And again, like the Pittsburgh game, one thing, the Philly game on the road, short week, we can all sit there and say, give all these reasons or excuses. But the bottom line is today, there is no excuse, none at all. So, and any given Sunday, yes, I get that. These are pros, but man, you cannot come off having a couple days of extra rest against a team on a short week, against a team that is reeling, and you just can't. So you can't give up 3 points at the end of the half to this team when they're starting on their own 14 with 45 seconds left. And they did, because you had Cooper Rush underthrows the deep balls, but Jeremy Chin and Benjamin St. Juste don't play it right or don't play it well enough. And it leads to a long pass, puts them in field goal range, gives them 3 points. That, all those little things add up, could be the difference of the game. You have Austin Seibert coming off missing a couple games with the hip injury, misses 2 extra points. We know, like, going to that last one, yes, it was a low snap, but Tressway gets the hold down. Seibert just pushes it left again. 2 of them today. Misses a 51-yard kick on, a field goal in the first quarter. Personally, I would have gone for it on that one. I said that at the time. I, just felt like they've done that all year. Why not there? Did not. But before the last one, even though, to be honest, the way he had been kicking the ball, couldn't have felt too confident, but he did make the other 51-yarder in the fourth quarter that perhaps gave them confidence. But Dan Quinn said they were not thinking about going for it in that situation because they wanted to get to overtime, get the coin toss. I think they felt good enough about how the defense was playing to at least, that you wouldn't give up a touchdown on the first drive if Dallas got the ball first. But typically the play at home is to play for overtime, on the road to go for the win. But, so I don't blame them on that. But man, Seibert has just had a brutal day. Been really good coming into the game. Even though he missed 2 games with the hip injury, 25 for 28 coming in. Then all those extra points he had made, misses 2 of them. Just brutal. Now it's funny because not funny, but we talked to Seibert after the game, and he of course you blame yourself because you missed the kicks. We know that. But man, like it was tough for him to talk for us. And sometimes, these guys are human too. And like his lip is quivering. You could tell that it was very tough. Bottom line is, as he said, it's on him. Those are on him. Other players would talk about it's not Terry McLaurin. He said it. Dan Quinn would say it. Others said it. It doesn't come down to one kick. And they're right, because it didn't come down. The extra point was the last one, and it was brutal because of what the play that had happened against, the play to McLaurin, which was an unbelievable play. And you're thinking, oh my God, it's going to happen again, that they're going to get, maybe they squeak one out here in an unlikely fashion. But no, which was, again, a terrific play by McLaurin, a good throw by Daniels on that one. McLaurin just knifes through. I like the way they cleared out the safety, created a little zone area for McLaurin to get the ball, and then he goes. But man, so I didn't blame him for not going for 2 there. The other one is the kickoff return to Turpin, 99 yards. Now I know some people, you wondered, should they have kicked it? Now Dan Quinn was asked, why not just kick it out of the end zone? His thing was, it's hard just to go do that. So they wanted what Seibert said, he wanted to kick a quote unquote dirty ball. And guess what? It was a dirty ball. So even Quinn said, from a kicking standpoint, they handled it right. The rest of it, they got all wrong. And Jeremy Reeves, he was the first one down there. That's where Turpin had the spin because Reeves was there. Jordan McGee was right there, and he missed it too. Like Reeves took all the blame on himself, but Jordan McGee was right there as well. And so he got away from both. But Reeves was, I was looking at Reeves as we talked to him for a few minutes, and then there's another 10 minutes or so had passed. He's still sitting in his locker, kind of just pondering what happened. And also on that play, one thing I did see is I saw Mikey Samersdill look like a block in the back. Now I don't know. What I don't know is to see what I want to go see is on the all 22 was he running down and kind of turned, and while the guy was on him, turned and that's how he ended up with a block on the back. Bottom line was that I saw that. I don't know if he had turned his back to kind of maybe force that block in the back, or if the guy did just give indeed just a flat block in the back. So I don't know. So, but that's something I noticed. But yeah, you can quibble with the decision to kick, but from the kicking standpoint, the guy muffed the ball. If Reeves or McGee makes a play, it's at the 12-yard line. So they did make the play, and Turpin makes an incredible play. And once you get through that wall, now you're gone. But before that point, if you make the play, and it's not exactly a hard play, as Reeves said, he makes it 100 times. More than that. Like that's the play he's made. That's the reason why he's here. He's the first one down there, and you got to make that play. And again, this team isn't good enough to not make those plays. And the way they're playing, you have to make those plays, and they didn't. And then you look at the offense. So first of all, today the pass rush on the defense. Somebody asked Dan Quinn after the game started, I think it was Ben Stanek, started to say something about the pass rush not being where, and he didn't even have to finish the sentence before Quinn said, I agree, because there was no pass rush today. And that was a disappointment as well, because they allowed Cooper Rush to get comfortable. Cooper Rush throws behind guys, misses guys. Like he's not very good when you put pressure on him, and they couldn't do it. And you didn't see a lot of pressure trying. There wasn't, I want to go back and watch how much did they try to pressure him with various packages versus 4-man rushes or whatever. But man, that was just tough. And Cowboys ran better than I thought they would. But again, Dallas's run defense is not good at all, and they could not run on them. And this is the part where you have to wonder what's going on. And again, you look at Jaden Daniels, I think he's going to be a terrific quarterback. He's had a good year. The last couple of weeks, not so good. And I think we now have to look beyond can't just sit there and blame the rib all the time. Daniels actually ran the ball well. And I thought they could get some quarterback runs today because Dallas has not defended those well. And I think you saw that. And he had, I don't know what his numbers were. I can tell you in a minute what his numbers were on the ground. He was at 7 for 74. Like that's a really good day. So this isn't about the rib anymore, folks. This is about, there's something else going on. And this is, whether there's just no rhythm. One of the things that some of the players talked about is they're not doing as much tempo. Now, part of that is they've been horrible on third down, so they're not keeping the ball. But when they go tempo, they think they feel like they're in a better spot because you can kind of regulate the defense. You can limit how much they're going to call. That's something they were doing very well early in the year. It just hasn't been a factor lately. And for whatever reason, that hasn't been something that's to help them. But multiple players that they want to get back to that. And I don't know that it's as much second guessing a Cliff Kingsbury as much as like they need to get back into that. However it is, whether it's just success running the ball and giving them more possessions, because third downs, folks, here are the numbers on third downs. I think it's like the last couple of weeks, it's like 12 for 36, something like that. I'm not positive that's the correct number, but in the passing, in the last 3 games combined, passing on third down, Daniels is 7 for 23. Just not going to cut it. I think he's about going into the game. He was 50, or going into in the first 10 games, he was completing 57.8% of his passes on third down. Again, the last 3 games, 7 for 23 on third down. There's not much rhythm there for whatever reason. Sometimes you can look and say, are the receivers sometimes coming back for the ball? They're being very closely contested. The accuracy just not as sharp as it was. A couple of times in some of the deep balls, are the receivers giving him enough room on the outside to give him some more cushion to make some throws the outside? I don't know. I think you have to look at all those things. But again, I go back to the run game, and it's certainly that's a big part of it. And I do think that when you look at this team, is the lack of, they did a really good job in the first part of the year, really good job. And they caught did they catch maybe some teams by surprise? Not so much by, oh, they're better than we thought, but more so maybe that some of the things they were doing, they weren't sure, maybe the more you play, the more you get a read on teams. And that's the big key for this team. And for Daniels is to now adjust off of that. And I don't know that it's as simple as like, oh, they're being fooled all the time. Or is it guys not getting open? Is he not seeing it? Is he not throwing in rhythm all the time? So it could be a lot of things. But I still like, he's going to be a really good quarterback, folks. But this is the offense in a place where they have enough around him to then do more as teams start to get more and more comfortable with what they're doing and how to defend them. That's a question I think that needs to be asked. And, we talked about Cliff Kingsbury's offense the other day on my 5 things. Our team's catching, in Arizona, he had the reputation for the second half of the year. Well, you couldn't go by the Eagles game because that was one game. Pittsburgh game, they did get 27. Today, I know they got 26. They're over 400 yards. But man, this was a hollow 411, a hollow 26 points, because the first 57 minutes, they did not look good at all. And so there are things now you have to start to wonder, why is it happening like this? But again, the run game has got to get back, because if they don't get that back, you're not going to go anywhere. I think defensively, Noah Igbenogany had a couple penalties. I think you need to get Marshawn Lattimore out there. I don't think Lattimore is going to solve all their problems, because right now, to be honest, the problems are mostly on that offense. And, they can certainly use Lattimore. And I do think that when you get him, the 3 corners need to be, well, you can do the rotation, but who 2 of them are, Samerstill and Lattimore, and then it's a mix and match. So I don't know, folks. This one was bad. And I don't know what more to tell you. They squandered really good field position in the first half. Here's the drives in the first half. At the Dallas 40, field goal. At their own 32, missed field goal. Dallas 47, punt. Own 42, punt. Dallas 39, throw an interception. That was one by Daniels. And I was surprised by that one, because usually he's done a good job. Like that one, he threw a hurried ball to Robinson, and just kind of Robinson went to catch it and just slid off, and he almost like handed it off to the defensive lineman. It almost reminded me of the play that Carolina had where Dante Fowler had the pick 6, where I'm like, in the past, I think that Daniels has been really good at just throwing that ball in the dirt and killing the play and live to go another down. But he just threw a hurried ball there and under pressure. And so I think teams are doing a better job of pressuring the pass game and disrupting some of that rhythm for sure. And, I think that's something that they're going to have to figure out. But again, staying ahead of the chains, being better on first down. There are a lot of times where you're watching Eckler up the middle. Sam Forty and I talked about this during the game. He pointed out, is Eckler up the middle between the tackles. Like, it's tough to just rely on him going up the middle on first down all the time, but for anybody just doing that. But until you get that going, then I think you're going to have some problems here. So A lot of things to think about this week. Still 7-5. I know it doesn't feel like, that they're going in the right direction, because right now they're not. This league, you can turn around. You can go, if they go out and beat Tennessee, now you're fine. But we've said that there have been other times the last few years, we know we've said the same thing where, oh, hey, they're 7-4, 7-5. Well, you win this game, but they didn't. So now you got to go do it. So they have been a much more resilient team. They are a much tighter team. In times like this, you have to rely on that, and they do have that. The defense has played better. So you do have that going, even though there were some breakdowns or some issues today against a subpar offense. I think the defense has been better if you can get Lattimore back. No clue when that's going to be, so I probably shouldn't even talk about that until he's back out there, because we don't know what the heck he's going to look like when he is out there, because he hasn't played in a while. So it's just a tough situation right now. You're going to learn a lot about what this team is made of over the next 5 weeks. And, can they still make the playoffs? I mean, sure, of course they can. But again, the NFC is very unpredictable. Like, teams that you thought were going to be really good are not. People are dealing with things, so they still can certainly make it. But I think before you get to that point anymore, you got to go out and win a game. And that starts Sunday against Tennessee, because if you don't win there are going to be a lot of massive questions going into the bye week. So very important game coming up this week on multiple levels. If they can win that, you can get back going in the right direction. If not, then you got a lot more harder questions coming up. Anyways, folks, that's it for me. Dallas 34, Washington 26. I'll be back on Tuesday with taking a look at plays of the game, and some other key plays from this key drives of this game. And we'll go from there. And again, I'll let you know about the live stream Tuesday night. One way or another, you can check my Twitter. I'll put something up on the Ampire site if we're going to do it. If not, I will have a guest on for Wednesday. So we'll get you covered there, talking about kind of trying to take a dive into what the hell is going on here, folks. Anyway, that's it for me, folks. Thanks for sticking around. I'll talk to you next time.